Does activate and foreground switch. Let's get front clicks. Let's get rid of all of those, but we are 32-bit compatible. No. Nope. We're still not getting a list. Interesting. Good. Okay. Count app files. It doesn't return an error. Okay, this is interesting. Because why? No, I shouldn't matter. Oh, mein Rücken. Room 215. Hi. Thank you for the stretch redeem. I mean, it's none of the... It's nothing related to this. Like, we get here and it gives us 0. So that can't have anything to do with anything I've commented out. It's already thinking here, right after starting the application, that there are 0 files here for us to open. But I just dragged a file on the application, so it should be at least 1. Let's see. Just says 32-bit compatible. So I don't think it thinks we're a new app. I mean, I could just implement the new mechanism, but I'm kind of curious because I think System 7 still supports the old mechanism. So... No, it's an earlier point. It's not even my file list. This is... The application has just started, and it asks the operating system, how many... are there any files that I'm supposed to open? And the number of files to open always comes out as 0. So... I mean, unless the print is wrong. Let's see. Number of files to open, 0. I mean, it is the old call, so it could just be that it's something I'm doing that's telling the system that it's a new application or something. Just to be safe, we don't actually need this print statement. Where is initialize? Yeah, it's not logging anything. Just in case our console window is actually doing something that eats up the files, but nope. Number of files to open 0. No other log messages. And we can probably get rid of this log message as well, because that thing works. That we can leave. That we can get rid of. Just maybe let's just verify that it's not because it's somehow dumb and the old thing doesn't do folders. Delete. Build. Now we have a new one, don't we? Yeah. Now let's take that. Yeah, now it's noticed. Nope, even now it's 0. Okay. Let's just to be safe, let's use the new System 7 way of doing it. Just to see. I'm searching the documentation right now. Just to find the right inside Macintosh that contains information. Yeah, here. Let's pop that in. Clicking on the wrong screen. Never good. How did you increase the count value variable to go 0 plus? No, it's there is no count variable. It's really just I'm asking the operating system, tell me how many things you got. The operating system should fill in that number, and it doesn't. But since I'm using an old call on a new operating system, I'm kind of thinking maybe I need to do it with a high level event, with the Apple event instead, which is the new way. Yeah, I'm printing it here, but there's no changing the count. It's just outputting it. I guess what I could try, startup code debugger aware. I think, whoops, that might make it start the debugger or not. Probably not. I don't know how to use the debugger when no, okay. So I can't really. The problem is I can't start the debugger because the only way to start an application in a debugger in this old operating system is by saying enable debugger. Oh, maybe that's enough. And usually I have to say debug here. But the problem is I need the operating system to launch it to tell me to open a file. So maybe... No. Just enabling the debugger didn't help either. Anyway, so let's try the high-level event thing instead. Okay, that's old stuff. Handling high-level events. Alright. Do high-level event. That is what I should base my code off. Okay, we don't have any of our own high-level events, so we can ignore this. So we just say AE process Apple event. Current event. Now, if error, not no error, then printf Okay. Well, I know that ODoc is the Open Documents event. They don't actually mention here. I think. We're still in the middle of pizza making, but we'll catch up soon. Yeah, if you know why I'm always getting 0 from count app files, that might be useful. What if I go and say initial value for both 77? Just maybe I need to check an error number or something. No, it actually says 0. Okay. It doesn't print my number. Let's, just to be safe, the printing is right. Let's comment out the actual call. Wait, that's pointless. Didn't want to start in the debugger. Okay, so it prints it out if I just assign the number. So that works. So it's definitely returning 0. It's not just... No, it's not an Apple event. It's count app files. The whole point is I want to run on System 6, so I try to use the API that doesn't use Apple events. I've actually started now going, well, I'll try using Apple events to, at least make it work somehow. But you know. This is because in this API, they actually start counting at 1 every time. The documentation says so. But I'm not getting to this code, so it doesn't really matter. It's already 0 here, so it goes in here. Yeah. But yeah, the Macintosh originally was written for Pascal, and Pascal counted everything starting from 1. Or at least it counted strings starting from 1. And Apple kind of kept that for most of the API back then. Okay, but I know the print statement works. It definitely shows whatever is in this variable. So But I'm kind of wondering, is it in inter-applic or is it in more toolbox? No. Okay, let's look at where is it? Inter-application communication. And KAE open documents. Let's see. No, okay. So they definitely describe this here, I guess. Okay. Let's go and initialize. AE install event handler. Okay, core event class. KAE open documents. I mean, I've turned this off, so those should never arrive, but who knows. Handle doc. And I'm pretty sure this 0 is a ref con. And someone out there is talking. Refcon, yes. So we can just say this here. Void C application. Talk. Have to find out later what the parameters for.
Uh-oh.
Apple events.h. Let's see, where is idle filter event handler? And return value is an error. Okay, and now we need to put that here and make it static, of course. So Apple event reply. Okay. All right, they should have. Come on. Usually you have sample code, don't you? I've wrapped around already. Yeah. Wait a second. Maybe I can peek. Oh, no. Don't search this PC. Never search that one. Okay. I don't have that here. Did I ever do Apple events? Let's see what I have here. Doesn't look like it. Balls. Nope. I don't think any of these have event handlers. Handling the required events. Applications that do not support high-level events can still use the count app files, get app files, and clear app files procedures. That's what I was trying to use. Or the get app params procedure to get the finer information. See the chapter Introduction to File Management in Inside Manager Files. Open documents. So, key direct object. Oops. That wasn't quite what I wanted to do. So key direct object and type AE list is the list of the files to open. Yeah. The open application event. The open documents event. I knew they had code for it. Okay. AE get param desk. The Apple event. Key direct object. Type AE list. And doc list is AE desk list. All right. myr equals AE count items doc list items in list, and items in list is what? A long. R equals no R. Then from 1 to items in list. And then my R equals AE, get nth pointer, doc list X type FSS. It's keyword. AE keyword, okay. FSS. Desktop return type. Okay. Type FSS keyword. Those are probably return parameters. Return type. My FSS. The size of my FSS. Actual size. Yeah, I think I already have that. Okay. And then see application equals okay, so we have the object again, and now we open it. And doc list. So here Let's see if this works.
Uh-oh.
Forgot that one. And that one.
Uh-oh.
AE desk long. Oh, it's not Pascal. Oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That's a good error message. Where did it go? Here. Okay. Oh, needs to be Pascal here as well. Okay. So my guess is this is not being called. Whoops. Because we switched off high-level events in the hope that that would get app params to work. But I mean, this is macOS 9, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, hey, by now, no app will be running anymore that uses get app params. Items in list, and items in list is a long, so here OS error if error not no error. Whoops. How did that get deleted? Okay. This didn't get anything, but now let's go back in here. Let's turn all the new stuff on again. High level event aware. That should be enough for now. Ha! Okay, also with Apple events, it works. Oh, and it's even debugger aware. So since we had a breakpoint left over, that we have a My Computer window. Files to open, received ODoc event, asked to open one files. Error processing Apple event, -608. I'll have to check what that was. But anyway, we've just opened the documents folder. Is that even the correct contents, though? That looks like it's the hard disks, not the documents folder. Yeah. So that code isn't correct, but at least the opening part of things works. Yeah, but it's listed the hard disk. Okay, so two things to do. One, cover the case with no documents separately. But also, it said, where did it say that? It said, just gestalt for, I think that was a separate header, right?
Uh-oh.
True if Apple events present. I'll do a test for that. Do you have sample code? Let's see. Start Apple events. Okay, I think I remember how this goes. So, if, wait, first long AE status. Start. Start Apple events etcher and AE status equals no error. So if it actually managed to get the status and AE status and there's no error. Alright, if it's not no error, or if the Apple events present bit is 0, then do the old style code. And now we need to implement the ODoc Apple event. Not ODoc, OApp. So that okay, we don't really need to extract anything here. We just do self delegate open untitled document. And now that should mean we should be fine. Because there's two Apple events. There's open document, which means someone has opened a document and it was, and your application is the one to open that type of document with. And there is the open application Apple event. That is if someone directly double-clicked your application and not a document to launch it. All right. So we should now have both of these.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and we need the OApp handler. In the header. Alright, so now if I hit run, I should get OApp. And I get a My Computer window. That looks good. And now if I drag a document instead, I only get the Documents window. Of course, still with the wrong contents, but that's the next thing to fix. Oh, right, and that was what that other code in Xfile was, what we wrote. Was it here? Yeah. I think new alias minimal from pull path. That's not really what we need. Ah, down here. That's what we need. File name. Yeah. This. Luckily, I did half of the work in a bunch of other streams. And why didn't anyone tell me that this documentation was still open? Anyway, so from my X-Files X command, which lists files, but which was designed for HyperCard, which uses text file paths. So it's not really very That's not what normal Mac applications do, because Mac applications usually use two numbers. A number that identifies the disk on which it is, the volume as it's called, the volume reference number. Then it has the parent ID, which is the number of the folder, and the name of the file itself. And that's what an fspec is. So this my FSS that we're extracting here when opening the open document event, that is when handling the open document event. That's what we use to reference a file in a normal Mac application. But since the programming language from HyperCard wanted to feel natural to users, to beginners, all beginners know are, I have this file, it's in this folder of this subfolder of my hard disk. So they went with, just specify all the names. And that's how they show them. Okay. So where is the... No, wait, not you. You, finally. So I don't think we need this anymore. Ah. Don't auto-scroll so fast. Alright, so here we're not listing the volume. So first we need to get the volume. Did you get the count app files to work? No, but I did get the Apple events to work. So I guess I'll have to test. My guess is maybe, since this is macOS 9.04, this is basically intended to be run on Classic. I'm wondering if they removed support for count app files completely and just went, if you have an app that old, it probably won't be useful anymore. So I'll have to, at some point, copy that file over. But didn't you get the file list? The count was just wrong? I don't think so. I mean, I guess I could try that. No, I never, I don't know, I actually don't know. There was one case where I tested, I just put a random number in there to see if it prints the right number and things. And then, of course, the code went through the code path with I have files. So who knows? Could be. Well, I have another bug. So I think I'll fix that first. But then I think I might go back. File name buffer. Target name to file name buffer. Yeah. Oh, and file name buffer we have here as well. All right. Vref num and par ID. What type size were they? The info pbrec. C info pbrec. And we're in the dir info. frefnum is a short. Oh wait. Maybe count app file only counts the files in your applications. No, it's not that. Count app files is documented as giving me the number of files that my application opens. It has nothing to do with listing files in my Finder window. It's something that other applications use to open their documents. Like if I was writing MS Word, I would use count app files to know how many files I should open when someone, selects like here, when I select 4 text files and double click them, then kind of Code Warrior did a count app file, saw, okay, those 4 files, and then asked for the name of each file and opened a window for it. That's what that one is for. So it doesn't really have anything to do with like listing files in a folder or something. Okay, so target in this case is actually what did I call it down here? M file or folder. M file or folder. And then vrefnum and parent ID. And so IO vrefnum and IO dir ID. Then IO dr dir ID, yeah. And IO vrefnum. So dr dir ID is a long. And vrefnum, according to the documentation, IOV refnum. Where do I find that? It's not in the dir info? That's weird. I guess it's that short. Okay. Because now... Oh. Of course it couldn't work. It sets the file name buffer to 0 here, so after I copied it. But anyway, no matter. vrefnum and dir ID. IODR dir ID is a long. Okay, yeah. And vrefnum. My documentation must be wrong. If you look here, oh, it says param block header here. Maybe that is just missing a name. What is the param block header? That's probably the one that contains the common fields. Oh. That's a weird thing. Okay. Let's see. Param block header, param block header. Ah, it's a define here. And that has IOV refnum. Okay. And that's a short. Okay, so I'm good. Have you got any access documentation? You mean documentation? I meant what requested in count variables turns you back in procedure. Yeah, there is. Well, let me just finish this one. I think I've done this now. So with the Apple events.
Uh-oh.
Let's declare that a little earlier. Oh wait, this one is. Okay. Okay. And now let's drag documents on this. Yeah. All right, let's do that with a larger folder. Oh, why not use Filey's folder? App framework, okay, Filey, Filey DBG, Filey project, Filey sim, resources, slider control, and sources. Yeah, okay. So now we're listing the right stuff. And if we just run it, we get this, and where did the... Oh, we don't even have a... Huh. Okay, this window doesn't print any messages. But the menu doesn't work for some reason. That's a bit weird. Okay. By the way, I did not yet catch your answer to the question about the size resource. I turned it off to test whether, it was only sending the Apple event because I had the flag on. And then later when I implemented the Apple event handler, I turned it back on so it would work. Okay, get app files. First documentation here. Oh, let's read this. This sounds interesting. I can maybe make it a little larger. Let's see. That's about as large as it will go. Opening files at application startup time. A user often launches your application by double-clicking one of its document icons or by selecting one or more document icons and choosing the Open command in the Finder's file menu. In these cases, your application needs to determine which files the user selected, so that it can open each one and display its contents in a window. I just got a sinking feeling. It has two parameters. This app open thing here, or app print, and then the count. Now, if I've swapped those parameters by accident, that would lead me to get 0 because I'm asking to open a file. We'll see that in a moment, I guess. I still want to read this. In these cases, your application needs to determine which files the user selected so that it can open each one and display its contents in a window. There are two ways in which your application can determine this. If the user opens a file from the Finder, and if your application supports high-level events, the Finder sends it an Open Documents event. Your application then needs to determine which file or files to open and react accordingly. For a complete description of how to process the Open Documents event, see the chapter Apple Event Manager in Inside Macintosh Inter-Application Communication. That's what we just implemented. If at all possible, important, if at all possible, your application should support high-level events. You should use the techniques illustrated in this section only if your application doesn't support high-level events. If your application does not support high-level events, you need to ask the Finder at application launch time whether or not the user launched the application by selecting some documents. You can do this by calling the count app files procedure and seeing whether the count of files is 1 or more. Then you can call the procedures get app files and clear app files to retrieve the information about the selected files. The technique is illustrated in listing 117. The count app files procedure determines how many files, if any, the user selected at application startup time. If the value of the mynum parameter is non-zero, then myJob contains a value that indicates whether the files were selected for opening or printing. Currently, myJob can have one of two values, app open and print. So this does get app files. Here, count app files, job number. So let's see. Where are you? My application here. It's probably something really stupid in the end, but we'll see. Request and count. No, that matches the sample code at least. I called the job request, but still. And then get app files. Well, we're never getting there, so. But it's index my file, yeah. And here's how to create fs make fs spec, my file vrefnum 0, my file fname. Let's do that call instead of manually filling it in. Fs make fs spec. Appfile.vrefnum 0 appfile.fname and write it into our file variable. Parent ID 0 is right. Anyway, this is more correct, I guess, but we never get to that code, so that's not it. In listing 117, if the files are to be opened, then do init files obtains information about them by calling get app files procedure for each one. The get app files procedure returns information in a record of type app file. Because the function do open file takes an fspec record as a parameter, do init files next converts the information returned in the myfile parameter into an fspec record using fs make fspec. Then do init files calls do open file to read the file data and clear app files to let the finder know that it has processed the information of that file. Okay, yeah. The vrefnum field of an app file record does not contain a volume reference number. Instead, it contains a working directory reference number which encodes both the volume reference number and the parent directory ID. That's why the second parameter passed to fsmake fsspec in listing 117 is 0. And I even remembered that you passed 0. I just didn't remember that fsmake fsspec existed, which might do something extra to normalize the fsspec maybe. Okay, preferences file. What do they do? It would be interesting. Oh, they actually find the preferences file folder. Okay, it's that new. Get app files. Index the file. Message. Count. Yeah, count is always the second one. You can use the count app files procedure to determine how many documents, if any, the user has selected at application launch time for opening or printing. Message the action to be performed, count the number of files selected. The count app files procedure deciphers the finder information passed to your application and returns information about the files that were selected when your application was started up. An exit count parameter contains the number of selected files, and the message parameter contains an integer that indicates whether the files are to be opened or printed. The message parameter contains one of these constants. Yeah. So, nothing new in here. So, not really anything in there. But anyway. So I guess I can build this and run that in a different emulator under an older Mac OS at some point. And then it should say, hey, I don't have Apple events, and should end up in here again, and then we can see if it maybe works there. Anyway, what else do we want to do? So I think this would be the point where we need a custom list definition function. Because right now we're just putting the name in there. And so that means we can't really react to the double click properly. Because we can't generate a full path. So instead we would have to put the fsspec in there. So that will be a little bit more. But I guess we still have a little bit of time before it's impossibly late. Right now it's just a little late. And also, it's the weekend. So... I think more Macintosh Toolbox was the list manager, yes. So let's look up LDEF. My LDEF. Still plenty time. Friday, always a good day to Colong. Yeah, exactly. Alright, so the first thing we will do is take this nice project that generates a code resource and duplicate it. And name this file LDEF. And now we'll have to rename file ldef.c, file ldef.h, .h. File ldef.project. By the way, if you're wondering why my mouse cursor looks so weird, I have my Windows set to scale up the mouse cursor. And you can see it up here. It's the regular white Windows cursor that I have. And SheepShaver uses Windows's routines to show the mouse cursor. So it just takes the 16 by 16 pixel cursor that macOS gives it and tells Windows show that. And so Windows just ruthlessly scales that up. So it would normally look a lot more normal. But I don't want to, for each stream, make my cursor tiny so that I can't find it on screen anymore. Okay, so file ldef resource. The symbol file will be regenerated anyway. Okay, and now we open the file ldef. Remove these two files. Drag these two in. And now we change the project settings. File ldef. It's so annoying. The code editor in CodeWarrior has all the modern shortcuts, like hold down Shift and use the arrow keys to select something. But the dialog windows actually use regular text edit fields. And so I'm so used to using those now, and then I get in a text field and it's like, oh damn it, it doesn't work. Okay, ldef. Okay, that should be it. All right. And now we just need to rewrite it into a ldef instead of a cdef. Init, draw, highlight, close. Okay. I think I should just delete everything up here. File ldef.h. This is actually a void function. It doesn't have a result. Okay, let's see. Message. Boolean selected. Rect cell rect. Cell. Chart data offset. I don't think I've written. I think it's been ages. I remember. I think I once wrote an ldef, but I think after that I just went, fuck it, I'm creating my own list view. And so I don't think I ever wrote another one. And it feels so unfamiliar how this works. Ironically, I was also using native mouse cursor until recently, which would also have this scaling behavior, but with the new mouse cursor rendering, it uses software blitter to show mouse only in the emulated VRAM buffer. Yeah, that would be cool. Like especially here, like it's large, you know, it's the pixels are scaled up, so you don't really need an enlarged cursor. The original cursors in that pixel resolution are much better. Want some inspiration? Check after the stream my LDEF related DM. Ooh. That'll be interesting. Okay. Short data len and list handle the list. Okay. We don't need the result. Okay, case L init message. It's interesting how inconsistent the naming is. Like the list manager is all L new, L dispose. They don't even spell out list. And the messages are L init and things like that. And the control definition function had control init, control disp, things like that. So without the misg part and things like that. And of course, newer stuff all was K blah blah blah. Case L highlight message. Yes, I never, like at the time, that was basically my first. Oh, I should probably move this window a little to the left so you can see more of what I type. Although I'll probably just hide this for you. I'm just reading the data types and message names off from the documentation. I'll close message. But yeah, at the time I never really noticed how inconsistent all of this was. And now it's kind of, yeah, it's not very consistent. Like if we look at the slider control, I wonder if maybe some of it is a newer style. Let's see, because I think there was an inconsistent one here. Well, it's the names kind of got longer. If you look at where is it? Calc C regions. And then it's calc control region and calc thumb region. What's this? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, the question is, does the compiler ignore that? You know, does it really? There were some older compilers that just used the first 6 words, characters. I think Apple even changed the names through the years. I remember there's a bunch of cases where even the same header has old and new names with event comment, with a comment that the old names. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. They have. You can actually see that because I have the macOS 9, well, System 7.5, I think, headers or something. Wait, which? No, I think it's, yeah, System 7.5. Which is interesting because there are some things happening in here that were basically, I would say, were needed for Carbon. But maybe they were needed for Copland as well, and they kind of just kept that. Like here you see, like the old ones, and then they went to K control no part, like to these longer constants. And most of them are this, but then there's a bunch. I think it's the later headers. Like, oh, here, for example. there is no constraint, and they say K no constraint. All of a sudden. So they have the new constant.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Where is that defined? Oh,
Uh-oh.
don't know where that is. But so they've started going for those names, and I know that later, like in the macOS 9 headers, I think they all had these new names. But the old names were usually still around. Just, to be able to use it. But interestingly, here, do you see that? They have control ref instead of control handle. In these headers, in 7.5 already. And that's an anachronism for me. Because control ref was, as far as I know, made in preparation for the next generation of macOS. So macOS 10 Carbon. And that's why they added these strict controls so that you could compile with that and already see. Like this way, it's just opaque control ref. So it's an unknown type, pointer to an unknown type. And so you cannot access any fields in it anymore. But the old definition was to the actual control record that System 7 used. I think the first time they tried to make data structures opaque was around Copland time, as you did mention, so there might be a bunch of relics from that effort. I guess that could be, yeah. They probably... that makes sense. It could be that for Copland they went, okay, everything has to be... because we want to rewrite it under the hood. And of course that didn't stay different. That wasn't different for Carbon or for macOS 10. So that would make sense. Poor Copland, yeah. I actually have a little book here that was released at the time and described what Copland would one day be, with screenshots and things, or at least, I don't know, mock-ups. I don't know, images they had from somewhere, maybe from Apple. It had some fun ideas. It's also funny because a lot of Copland was rewrite your app. I think. Was it? I saw a video of somebody trying to do different things on the developer beta. It looked painful. Oh yeah, I saw one as well. Maybe that was the same one, yeah. There was a few months ago, there was someone who released... who had a copy of Copland and ran it in, I think some emulation. But it was very unstable. Or was it even on actual hardware? But yeah, it wasn't very stable. That seems to be the general consensus. Anyway, okay, let's get back to our list definition function. Selected a Boolean value that indicates whether the cell specified by the cell parameter should be highlighted. This parameter is defined only for the lDraw message and lHighlight messages. It's actually funny that most of the crashes were just various assertions, but without debugger they'd bomb the system. Ah. Well, just assertions. You put assertions in there for a reason. So I wouldn't be surprised if, even with a debugger and just saying ignore it, the system would probably have gone to its knees. Although, I mean, if you know a little bit of that, I mean, it would probably be worth contacting that person and asking them, have you tried installing whatever the debugger of that time would have been, and helping them through and seeing if it's more stable? Then I guess it depends on how devs use assertions on the projects. But I think, like I heard from other sources, that Copland, was very, very unstable. So, that kind of jives with that. For example, doing assert error, not no error for every possible thing might not be sensible. Yeah, it was quite unfinished. I think like that was like the two, or maybe the main point. Like I've heard from some people, in the know at the time. Um, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, be more concrete than that. But I've heard from some people who basically said that, given the time Apple put into making Next Step like macOS, if they had put that time into Copland, then they would have shipped a working Copland. And that it was basically just a delay in shipping. Um, I don't know if that's really all. Like going by that demo, it seems a little bit of a stretch. But then I wasn't there at the time, and a developer beta running that years later, it they might have done something wrong, or it might have been unsupported hardware or whatever. Like I think it was running in emulation, and it was Copland was probably designed for exactly the hardware at the time. So it could just be that it's incompatible with the emulator or something. Okay. Cell rect. The rectangle in local coordinates of the list's graphics port that encloses the cell specified by the cell parameter. Although this parameter is defined as a var parameter, your list definition procedure must not change the coordinates of the rectangle. This parameter is defined only for the ldraw message and lhighlight messages. The location of the cell data associated with the cell specified by the cell parameter. The location is specified as an offset from the beginning of the relocatable block referenced by the cells field of the list record. Okay. The length of the cell data, the list for which the message is being sent. Okay. That actually looks fairly straightforward. So let's see. We can maybe even not even break that up into little functions. Yep, Copland doesn't even start on other than the very first generation of Power Macs. Yeah. But another doomed macOS version was also the fabled Star Trek project, to boldly go where no Mac has gone before, by which they mean Windows. Yeah, I remember that. They did what was it, System 7.0 or something like that around that time, that they ported to Intel. And from what I heard, it basically worked. So, hey, cool. But I think it was, I think they did it during negotiations with, I don't know. Like, I want to say, but I don't know where I have that from, that it was, like something they did, like either when talking to Intel, about using their CPUs and just but like at the time, not like 2 decades later when they actually switched to Intel. Um, or 1 decade, I just made up a random number. Long, long time. Um, but yeah. So, I mean, that's fascinating thing, this project. The group managed to meet its deadline and had a functional demo ready by December 1st, 1992. Apple executives were amazed to see the Finder run on an ordinary PC. The engineers did more than that. QuickDraw GX and QuickTime were also ported to x86. Ooh. I still kind of wonder if any of these changes made it into the main code base and were used for example, QuickTime for Windows. And I mean, if you look at QuickTime for Windows, that basically contained a Windows port of the Mac toolbox. Think about that. Like, there was like new C window, these calls that I'm using here, those were used for, and I think iTunes for Windows might actually still be running on that. But yeah, basically, they took a good chunk of the toolbox in QuickTime for Windows. Surprisingly much toolbox stuff there, yeah. Okay. So we want to draw a list cell. So let's say 4 color, white color, paint rect, cell rect, 4 color, black color. And now we need to get the text. But the Mac stuff running after OS X is a different beast, as Next Step was running on Intel already long before porting iTunes and Safari to Windows was easy to do. Nope. Here's the thing. iTunes and Safari are not Cocoa apps on Windows. Or at least were not for a very, very long time. So iTunes was a Carbon app on Mac. And so they basically used the QuickTime stuff for that as well. Which makes sense because it uses a lot of QuickTime anyway. It needs QuickTime on Windows installed, I think. But Safari, remember Safari was based on KHTML. So that was a C++ code base from KDE. And what they actually did porting it to Windows was build a very thin layer. Or, well, I can't really say how thin it was, but like what they basically did was they brought up a borderless window that just rendered HTML all the way to the edges. So the window borders of Safari for Windows and the widgets and stuff were actually HTML. So I don't think there was, at least, I don't know, it might have changed in the last, I don't know, 5 years or something. But as far as I know, like the first version of Safari for Windows was not Cocoa. It was not, OpenStep for Windows, basically. And same, of course, applies to iTunes, which was like the showcase for for carbon, if you want. Okay, let's let you index here, because that seems to be reasonably fast. This is basically the spotlight indexing, you know, that you see on macOS in the spotlight menu occasionally, where it says, like, I'm indexing something. That was Sherlock doing the equivalent, so that I can use the search function. Okay, so now we need the cell data. So we assume there is an FS spec in there for now, and hope that we can get away with that. Oh wait, we're in C now, so I can't just randomly declare that in the middle. Okay, spec equals the list. Oh right, I have to do block move. The list. And it said something about cells. Okay. The list cells plus data. Oops. Ooh. CodeWarrior has Apple Guide. Cool. Topics. That's some nice help. I love this look, this patterned background that Apple Guide used, and these buttons. It's all slightly too chunky, but still pretty. Data offset to spec and size of the spec. If I was doing this seriously, I would oh, let's do that, I guess. I think we can do that. Min size of f spec data len the maths or math? Math.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Okay, we don't actually have min and max in here. Screw it. So we're block moving this now, and then we need to find out how to draw text. How do I draw text? Inside Macintosh folder, imaging with quick draw. Let's pop that up for you as well. Draw string, I think is what it was called. Yeah. Wait, didn't I just... Here, move to and then draw string. Yeah. Okay. I can do that. So let's say move to... I think it's always relative to the baseline, right? So select left +4, select bottom -4. Let's just see what happens. And then draw a string. Spec name. That should be all that we need. Okay. In response to the linit message, your list definition procedure should perform any special initialization needed. For example, the procedure might set fields of the list record, such as the cell size and indent fields, to appropriate values. Your list definition procedure does not necessarily need to do anything in response to the initialization message. If it does nothing, then memory is still allocated for the list, and fields of the list record are set to the same values as they would be set if the default list definition procedure were being used. Your list definition procedure should draw the cell specified by the cell parameter after receiving an ldraw message. The procedure must ensure that it does not draw anywhere but within the rectangle specified by the cellrect parameter. If the selected parameter is true, then your definition procedure should draw the cell in its highlighted state. Otherwise, it should draw the cell without highlighting. When drawing, your list definition procedure should take care not to permanently change any characteristics of the drawing environment. Old clip. Get clip. Then clip rect select set clip old clip. That way we prevent ourselves from drawing outside, and dispose region old clip. So now let's go back to imaging with quick draw. Highlighting. Let's see. I think it was just a special pen mode, but I don't remember. Just called highlight. Okay. Pattern mode. Pen mode, yeah. Pen mode, okay. If selected, then pen mode highlight, paint rect cell rect, pen mode pat. What is the default? I guess we could use get pen state. That's not the school. Get pen state. Alright, and then here set clip, old clip, and at Penn State. Okay. Okay, that should highlight it. Now go back to List Manager. Okay. Your list definition procedure should respond to L highlight message by reversing the selection status of the cell contained within the rectangle specified by the select parameter. Okay, remove the... I think that was like this short optimization where basically we just call... let's see, get Penn State, clip rect. We just don't draw it. And since highlight undoes itself, we should be fine like this. Since the list manager sends your list definition procedure an L close message before it disposes of a list and its data. Your list definition procedure. Sorry. All this talking and reading. Your list definition procedure need only respond to this message if additional memory has been allocated for the list. For example, your list definition procedure might allocate a relocatable block in response to the linit message. Okay, yeah, that's also inconsistent, that it's L close here, and for the control definition function, it was it was discontal or something. Okay, but so we might be good enough with this list definition function. So let's see if it builds. Probably not. Oh wait, we have all our old prototypes still in the header. Okay, let's see what this does. Oh right, get clip is...
Uh-oh.
Oh, select is already a pointer. And here as well. And I think we made the same copy and paste here. Oh, and that's the same error. All right. Oh, the spec is a pointer. Okay. All right, we don't even use that in the highlight message. Okay, now we have an LDEF. And now we go into Finally. And add the LDEF. Ah, familiar thing. Special considerations. You must compile a list definition procedure as a resource of type LDEF before it can be used by an application. Because a list definition procedure is stored in a code resource, it cannot have its own global variables that it accesses through the A5 register. Some development systems, however, may allow code resources to access global variables through some other register, such as A4. Do you see? Can you see that? No, it's off screen. Here. No, wait, that's the wrong project anyway. Well, anyway, we are using the A4 library in the LDEF and the CDEF. See your development systems documentation for more information. If your list definition procedure needs access to global data, it might store a handle to such data in the refcon or user handle fields of the list record. However, applications would not then be able to use these fields for their own purposes. By the way, I looked into the Unicode question finally, now that still remember. Seems textcommon.h has definitions for multiple Unicode encoding formats, but it's unclear which system version supports which ones. The IM text from 1993 mentions only 16-bit Unicode 10. Yeah, that's what I found, yeah. Nowadays known as UCS2. Oh, right, it's UCS2, not UCS16. I wrote that wrong. Yeah, that's what I meant. But it might be around OS 8.5 that the other encodings were added. Well, I guess we can see text common.h. Interesting. Doesn't actually exist in System 7.5. That's interesting. Or maybe... Is it text common? Yeah. At least that header doesn't exist. Yeah, it could be that it's that they just, you know, split up like text, two text headers into text common and others. I guess we can look text.h. Nope. I don't know, maybe I'm... No, actually, I should... I mean, there's... I think there was text utils. That's the one I remember. Types script.h. That sounds promising. Languages. Class mask punctuation. If I remember correctly, Apple originally had the World Script system, which was supported until the end of macOS 9. Yeah, I remember hearing World Script, but I never worked with it, so... I basically was like Mac Roman only until macOS 10. Are those the... Ah, those are the token types. That was an inside Macintosh text. It had a function that basically turned text into tokens. And tokens was basically just a... You could say it was a pseudo encoding that Apple had designed that contained all the characters. And so that's what they used for the conversion. They first turn whatever text you give it into tokens, and then if you say export it as this other encoding, then they turn the tokens into that other text. Which, you know, makes sense. Token block. This direction. That doesn't look like it does any text encoding conversion. Intel resources. I don't know. I have to browse around a little more, I guess, to find something. I guess. Oh, right. There's one thing I could do. Universal headers. GX types. Unicode platform, Macintosh platform, Microsoft platform, custom platform. The heck? Okay, but that's QuickDraw GX.
Uh-oh.
Name registry. Names are presented as null terminated Unicode character strings. Okay. I think that was it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So, I guess System 7.5 didn't have any of that. Does that script H have any mention about Unicode? Nope. I did a search over all files. Just to be sure. Q, P, Q, R. Yeah, script is in there, so it should have found it. I guess I could do ignore case. CM, ICC, okay. ICC color profiles aren't really useful. GX types.
Uh-oh.
Name registry. That's it. Yep, that Unicode platform is Unicode 1.0. Looks same like in the Inside Macintosh textbook. Alright. What did I really want to do? I wanted to change the list. Filing window. Of course, now I have to make it so the list manager attachment. Short ldef id equals 0. ldef id. And while we're at it, it's actually funny. UTF-16 and UCS2 are different beasts. Yeah, UTF-16 allows Unicode points. What, the 64K or some point? But UCS2 is fixed and cannot extend indefinitely like UTF-16 does. That is, UTF-16 behaves a bit like the multi-byte UTF-8. Yeah. I mean, that is, at the time UCS2 was created, they thought 2 bytes are enough to represent every script they'd be interested in. And then some people came with languages that they hadn't thought of, and then they went, well, we don't have enough space. And that's when they came up with UTF-32, which was a 32-bit encoding. Well, 21-bit technically. It's 32 bits is usually what it's stored in, but it only uses 21 bits so far. Out of those. And then they went and that's kind of, and so UTF-16 uses, can encode any UTF-32 code point. And so that of course means you sometimes need 2 or I guess even 3 let UTF-16 letters to express one UTF-32 letter. Found actually reference and was quite close. UCS2 is a fixed width encoding that uses 2 bytes for each character, meaning it can represent up to a total of 216 characters. Wait, what? The 216, I think there's something lost there, like a couple zeros. Up to a total slightly over 65,000. That makes sense. On the other hand, UTF-16 is a variable width encoding scheme that uses a minimum of 2 bytes and a maximum of 4 bytes for each character. Huh. Oh, I guess that's why... That's because UTF-32 is 21 bits. So they actually have enough room to store it in 4 bytes and still have the marker that says, hey, this is the next byte. Like there is a second byte coming for this. Because you just need 31 bits. And they have 21, so they still have 10 left. That makes sense, right? I wonder if Apple's Unicode 10 was UCS2 or UTF-16. Pretty sure it's UCS2, yeah. At that time, everything was. Remember, when AppKit, Cocoa, the modern, well, you know, the then modern application framework when Apple introduced macOS 10, that was designed originally for UCS2 and then kind of, took the path to being UTF-16. Like, the original design was UCS2, and then that was the intention, kind of, that people who had done UCS2 could just use UTF-16 instead, and for most cases it would be the same. You just have to be a bit more careful when measuring the length in characters. So, that it happened pretty late, that switch over to UTF-16 for most operating systems. And you see it today when everyone goes, you know what, UTF-8 is a much better choice, because for many cases it's a lot smaller, and it doesn't waste as much space as UTF-16. The key problem with UTF-8.16 is that random access of characters inside a string is difficult, as you always need to iterate the string from beginning to account for the variable size characters. Yeah, exactly. It's cool though, because if you look at, for example, Swift's string class, it does some really weird optimizations to make this fast. Like, basically what they do is they kind of scan over certain strings and build a lookup table. And then that lookup table is used for the random access. So basically they don't need to repeatedly parse from the start if you loop over a string. They kind of zip through once and then can reuse that information. But yeah, I think it's UCS2 because Windows default Unicode support is also UCS2. I found out about this back 12 years ago when I had to deal with some weird Xbox and Win32 system APIs. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically all the operating systems from that time started out with UCS2. Sounds smart for long strings, yeah. I mean, I don't know how they actually decide when to cache and when not to, but I'm sure they've done the measuring for the common cases. Okay, so we have the LDEF ID now. And now we create the list here somewhere. Here. And now we write 700. It doesn't have a variation code, so I think I don't have to multiply it by 16. That's for the controls. If you look at my slider control file, it's ID 700. But when I specify... Oh, we've deleted that file. Well, when I specified that file, it was 11,200 was the number I specified for which control CDEF ID to use. And that's because what they do is they multiply it by 16 and then add a number from 0 to 15 on it to allow you to have variants of one control. So for example, the push button, checkbox, and radio button control are all done by the same control definition function. You know, it's just, it tracks a button. That's the same for all of them. It's just, it draws it differently. If you have a button, then, you know, it draws the rounded thing and fills it when you click it. If it's a checkbox, then it draws the title, and next to it, it draws a little box, and when you click that button, the box kind of gets a thicker outline, basically. The rest of the button stays the same, and for the radio button, it's basically the same, just that it's a circle instead of a box. And of course, if the checkbox has the value 1 or 0, or a radio button, then it draws the check X or the dot inside it. And now, yeah, I'm talking checkbox appearance from System 6, not the check mark that we actually had in this operating system, I think. Let's see, here, does that have checkboxes? Yeah. That actually has a check mark. But you see, like, that, it's only this tiny thing that highlights. The button here, you can click it, but it doesn't change. Whereas, if you click a push button, of course, the entire button highlights. But that's the same control, just a different variant. Because the code is mostly the same. It's just the drawing code. But since I don't get a variation code parameter to the list definition function, I'm just going to assume it doesn't need one. Oh, wait, we're not done. Of course, now we can't add the name anymore, but rather we have to build an FS spec. How do I build an FS spec for this? Okay, down here, that should be fairly easy. FS spec, FS make, FS spec, didn't we have that somewhere? Alright, we used that in the file opening thing. See application, refnum dir id name, and then the pointer. Refnum dir id name. So oh, and now we need to do differently. So if is folder let's get files again and find the, what is it, dir info. Okay. dir ID. Wait, no, dir info. dir ID. I've forgotten again. Okay, see application. What is first? Volume directory. Yeah, it makes sense. Large to small. So, where is the volume? IOV-ref-num. So, cat info dot dir info IOV-ref-num cat info dir info IODR dir ID, and then the name, which is IO name pitter, and then spec. Okay, and now else. And that was H file info for all of those, and probably, oops, where did the spec, oh, added that to the wrong function apparently. And none of you stop me. Funny thing is, for text edit fields, even with regular macRoman, macOS does optimize string access by maintaining a list of line start offsets. It's actually even in public docs. Yeah. Direct structs end has the line starts array. Yeah, many text editors do that. But that's needed because it's for, like, wrapping can happen at any point. And also, you might have soft wrapping. And so it's just faster if you can go through this array and go, okay, here, this is the closest offset to where I am, and then only lay out that stretch. Yeah, it's clever. It is very smart. Okay, H file info has an IODIR ID. So without dr and the name pointer, and the vrefnum is the same, I think. Seems good. And I could even get the type and creator codes out of these. Being compatible with all the text edit tricks and hoops is a pain, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, re-implementing that is a lot. Like, I once thought about implementing a version of the resource file code. And basically my idea was, I'll implement all the public API and the behaviors, but the actual data structures I'd just make up because it would have just been such a pain. Like, all the public vectors, etc., need to be exactly right, or stuff blows up big time. Yeah. Okay, so this looks good. Oh, right, and now we need to take the spec and size of spec and actually add a row of that type. And now what do we do here? I think I'll do a little hack here and just say spec.name block move data. Also, I don't want to use block move data because that's system 7. Vol name to spec name, vol name 0 plus 1. And now add a row spec size of spec. That should be all we'll need to at least display it with the new list definition function. Yeah, resource files are also a pain. Shudders at the thought of DCMP decompression, etc. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, just look at Apple. Like, ResEdit would just randomly decompress resources if you edit them because they didn't want to give you the compressor. Oh, I forgot to clean up that file. Okay. Because I copied the slider control file, the folder, to make the file ldef, and so the file ldef.rsrc still contained. Maybe just to be safe. I mean, we're not calling it right now, I think, but just make sure we get the right resource. Whoops. That didn't work. Huh. Illegal instruction, you say? That sounds like I forgot Pascal. Did I? Don't think so. Pascal void. Should be fine. It's also funny how some applications use fun hacks to define their cdef so control window or list definition function code in application itself by making a small stub resource they patch to jump into application code. Yeah, I'm actually tempted to do that as well, but I wanted to do it regularly right now. And I mean, that's basically how Carbon does it. Carbon changed so you don't have to make resources anymore and can instead just specify that function. Plus mdefs, so many xdefs. Yeah, what other defs do we have? Wdefs? I don't know. But yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't begrudge anyone to just say, hey, you know, I write a little function here that just takes a pointer in the refcon. And that's it. Okay, let's I think it was here. My ldef. Okay, here. I'm looking it up inside Macintosh right now just to make sure that I got the signature right. So, short message, boolean selected, rect pointer cell rect, cell the cell, short data offset, short data len, list handle the list, Pascal void. Yeah, that's fine. Why am I getting an illegal instruction? Okay, let's set a breakpoint. Debug. List manager. Okay. And let's see what happens here. Okay. We don't actually need stir anymore. Oh, we can get rid of that as well. Rect body box. This mlist. Now it actually creates a list record. Cell size. B scroll. Yeah, it looks pretty good. List def proc. Guess that's our code. We can't really see if there's anything useful there. Okay. List, set auto position flags. List volumes. V info. So we're creating an FS spec. We're copying. Yeah, this one is 0 and has Macintosh HD in it. Question would be, I mean, the size of spec here gives me the size of the FS spec, right? Not just a pointer or something, so... I mean, it's a struct, yeah, it must. Oh, but there it does illegal instruction. So that's interesting. So the question is, does it try to call my draw function there for the first time? I guess we can try that out. Oh, new. What is the drawing parameter? The first one. Oh, and this one is the one for leave grow room. So let's do that false for now. And now we'll go here. True. Leave room for the grow box because we had that mistake. BDF2, but those are discouraged. I'm trying to remember if I ever wrote. Was the MBDF? I think that was the one you needed to do icons in the menu bar, wasn't it? I think Sue was not available from code resources, but how about Debugster? Did Metroworks Debugger support it? I think it does. The BDF is basically entire menu bar handling. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of trying to remember. I guess I should read up on it. We're not really drawing anything. But, drawing items after System 7, also the system menu icon stuff. Plus, weirdly, it also handles drawing frame of menus, while MDEF draws the contents. Plus, it also handles saving and restoring background of menus. Ah, okay. Yeah, I think there was an MBDF that... like, that did multitasking? So, like, it would let other applications run while the menu was being tracked? I just remember it because the Apple CD audio player, when it played music, had a little counter, showing like where you were in the track. And if you pulled down a menu with this multitasking extension on, then the counter was behind the menu, then it would draw through the menu. As a kid, I had on LC2 a control panel which replaced the menu bar with a pattern. First Class Client also had support for multitasking menus. Okay. Maybe they used the same extension, I don't know. That is, it would keep on downloading files and updating progress bars while holding the menu down. Yeah, that was... you wouldn't think it, but that's a problem with these menus, like... because they're not windows. To make them fast enough, what they did was they took the rectangular area behind the menu, copied that somewhere in memory, and then just drew this stuff on top of it as fast as they could. And then when you let go or switch to a different menu, they would restore what was behind it before and draw the next one. And so it's dangerous because if you see, if I mouse over here, it shows help text under, or well, a description of what the icon does in that bottom area. And if it did that while the menu was open, it could draw through the menu because it doesn't know that the menu is there. So the entire operating system basically stops while the menu is pulled down. I think they made this a little less severe later. Especially once multi-threading arrived or something. But yeah, wasn't trivial. Fun fact about that: saving pixels behind the menu. If there is not enough to allocate temporary memory for saving the pixels, it would actually not save anything, but invalidate the area below menu and force the update event on it. Yeah, happens a lot. For example, on Mac Plus. Yeah, I think I had that a couple of times when applications were leaking, where you knew you were about to crash when just dragging the menus basically turned the screen white where there was a menu. Okay, so I guess we could try debug string because I think it supports that. I just have the problem. I'm not sure it's going to help much. Because, alright, that takes a Pascal string, right? Because I think when I break into, if I ever break into max bug because of this, then I can't get out anymore because keyboard input doesn't work in the emulator in max bug. I did build it, right? Debug. Preferences. Program control. Stop for debugger and debugster traps. Yeah. What does automatically target applications mean? Sounds like it might have helped me earlier. Ah, it actually gets into the LDEF. So it's something I'm doing inside that. That's the problem. Okay. At least that's helpful. They make debugging hard on emulator. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that you need to like install some US keyboard layout or something. I actually haven't checked. What if I... Where's the executable? Here. Open. Yes. Let's see. Let's set a breakpoint here. Oh, it only... I guess I have to launch it? Yes. It works. You can actually debug. I have to say, I didn't expect that to work. Like, I expected the whole system to be hosed because in the middle of the drawing code, Code Warrior stuff is still running. That's good work. Okay, that was init probably. Oh right, I turned off the drawing code, didn't I? Okay, so let's build another. Because it crashed. Not this one, this one. Turn this one on again so it redraws. Whoops. That was the emulator crashing. Luckily, I had a bunch of crashes the last time I worked on this, like trying to figure out the whole attachments and where I'd forgot to uh, initialize stuff with null and things like that. Um, and so I put this project in my startup items folder. So it all comes back after the restart without me having to do anything. I also turned off the check the hard disk thing, which, you know, probably not the smartest thing, but it means I restart faster. And, you know, there's no clicking. Like, if there was a way to make it just, you know, immediately click the done button, I like that it checks the hard disk and maybe fixes it, but I don't really need to be told about it. I know that I just crashed. So, in this case, very specific. Okay, that's true. Build it. Then oh, that's the wrong one. I want you the LDEF. Okay. I should probably just set breakpoints on these calls. And see if that's enough. Okay, now I need to start you. LF runs. Should probably remove that. Okay. Now, let's find out where it crashes. Get clip, old clip, pen states, clip rect, for color, paint rect. I actually kind of like to see what I'm drawing. Alright, let's look at the list. Cells. Oh, the question is, should this maybe... Let's shut that down immediately because the LDEF runs is annoying as well. And go in here. Get rid of the debug string. And here maybe bracket it so we're sure to get the pointer. What is the list cells? What type? List.h. Cells is a data handle.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Wait. Match case. Find. Data pointer char. So data handle should be a char pointer, so that should be fine. Okay, so I have cells dereferenced once, so it's a pointer. Then I add the data offset. And I copy to the spec. Size of spec should be fine. Okay, that's really the only thing I think I could have done wrong. But then, you know, you never know if you've done something wrong. So now we need to build Filey again. Okay. Scroll wheel doesn't work, of course. Ooh. It's not rendering quite right. Alright. All the breakpoints set. Now start the app. Interact for color black color. I'll move the list cells. Oh, I'm an idiot. Here I make it type pointer. So I would just assign list plus data offset. Oh, I'm an idiot. So much for it's the only mistake I could have made. Okay. So just remove this, I guess. That's when you, halfway through coding, change your opinion on how you want to do it. Originally, I just thought I'll take the pointer from the data handle and use that for drawing.
Uh-oh.
Oops. Spec name. Okay. Huh. So that works. Okay, the highlighting needs some work. Also, oddly, leave grow room. Am I not passing through there? Yeah. Still under the grow box for some reason. Anyway, one thing we can do is, let's see, try how it looks with this. Oh yeah. So the highlighting isn't working yet, but what happens if we just As progress, now you can implement standard hack highlight with highlight mode and invert. Oh, was it invert rect? Maybe that's why it doesn't work. I did a paint rect. See, that's when you go by memory. Let's see. Here. Thanks for that tip. It's good to have someone here who actually remembers all this shit. Ah, thank you. By the way, because I haven't done it today, Tony actually has a secret catnip stash, but also what did I want to say? Got distracted by my own catnip message. Yeah, he plays games. On his own emulator sometimes. Interesting that it didn't require the LM set highlight mode weirdness to it. Well, it only did it in black and not in color, so I think I'm just inverting. So that makes sense. So maybe I just did the pen mode highlight. Let's see, we have imaging with quick draw. So let's pop that in again. Oh, you can add this constant or its value to the source or pattern mode. So I need... Initial pattern mode value is pat copy. So let's see. Pen. So do I maybe pat XOR plus highlight?
Uh-oh.
Oh, lowercase o. The problem with these scaled cursors is that the hotspot is in the completely wrong spot. Okay, let's see how that looks. Disable debugger. We just want to run it and see. Okay, that still doesn't do it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm in the Quick docs. Pen mode. The pattern mode. The following list shows the constants you can use and the values they represent for specifying the pattern mode. If you specify a source mode, such as one used with the copy bits procedure, instead of a pattern mode, no drawing is performed. The current pattern mode is stored in the pen mode field of the current graphics port. The initial pattern mode value is pat copy. To use highlighting, you can add this constant or its value to the source or pattern mode. With highlighting, QuickDraw replaces the background color with the highlight color when your application draws or copies images between graphics ports. This has the visual effect of using highlighting pen to select the object. The global variable highlight RGB is red, blah blah blah. Color graphics ports default to highlight RGB, but can be overridden by the highlight color procedure. It doesn't work for pixel patterns. The results of inverting a pixel are predictable only with direct pixels or 1-bit pixel maps. Maybe I have to use pat copy? Probably not, but let's try that. So according to this documentation, I shouldn't need it. But, huh. I think it sort of works. It's still black and white though, which is a little weird. Because I'm in a color window. The thing is, it does pad copy plus highlight. Maybe delete Filey to make sure we get a new build. No matter what Code Warrior thinks is unchanged. Yeah, so it correctly highlights. Because otherwise, if it just took pad copy, it would be black like before. When I just specified highlight. 442. Okay, chapter. So all chapter 3. I could probably search for that, right? 442. Yeah. When highlighting color, QuickDraw replaces the background color with the highlight color. So I guess what I did here maybe was just the black and white. No, but it says that I don't know. I don't know why it contradicts itself. Get selected text. Yeah, with basic QuickDraw you can use invert direct, invert region, invert arc, invert round rect, or invert poly, and any image copying routine that uses the source X or source mode to invert objects on the screen. In general, however, you should use highlighting with color QuickDraw when selecting and deselecting objects such as text or graphics. Highlighting has no effect in basic QuickDraw. The line reading highlighted in figure 415 uses highlighting. The user selected red as the highlight color, which the application uses as the background for the text. This picture shows the effect in grayscale. The application simply inverts the background for the line reading inverted. Inversion reverses the colors of all pixels. Okay, highlight bit clear, highlight mode. Yeah. Another way to use highlighting is to add this constant or its value to the mode you specify to the pen mode. Copy bits, copy deep mask, and text mode routines. Highlighting uses the pattern or source image to decide which bits to exchange. Only bits that are on in the pattern or source image can be highlighted in the destination. A very small selection should probably not use highlighting because it might be too hard to see the selection. So what I'm doing should work but doesn't? Because it says, you know, another way to do this. Color QuickDraw resets the highlight bit after performing each drawing operation, so your application should always clear the highlight bit immediately before calling a routine with which you want to use highlighting. Okay. Well, let's see. Is that in, oh, probably in, what was it, lowmem.h? Ha, I remembered it. Get highlight mode, set highlight mode. So how do I use elm set highlight mode? Bit clear, highlight mode, highlight bit. Can I just say 1 there, or is that bad? Or is it, do I clear the low bit by doing lm get highlight mode? Oh, it's the low bit, according to this documentation at least. lm get highlight mode. Now I need to copy a tilde because the editor can't do that. Get highlight mode and tilde. Oh, Pascal. No, I thought it was just that they specify bit numbers. Well, I guess we'll see. Because it worked in the other case. Let's try it all out. It's a good experiment. Hello? That's not good. It seems like my emulator has frozen up in a new and novel way. Okay. Well, I guess I'll see it once I've shot it down with Task Manager and restarted. Do 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 do. Well, okay. I can probably check quick draw.h. I still don't get why they back then kept the bit constants. Aha. Flag bit in highlight mode used with bit clear procedure and flag bit in highlight mode low mem flag. Okay. That seems weird. Well, let's build this, see what that does. Might just screw up my drawing code, but might have an interesting result. Okay, nothing. Except that it inverted. Which it shouldn't have done. Oh, right. They're still calling invert rect. Okay. Oh, what was the high bit? I guess I can just bit shift it. It's bit CLR. That's a routine that they provide for Pascal. And so that's why p highlight bit actually uses the bit order that one uses. Okay. That makes sense. Good point. Okay. I just here you can see bit clear. And so of course if you use that function, then use that bit, I guess, and maybe that's an Apple function. I think the bit manipulation toolbox API is sometimes really crazy. Yeah, I don't remember it as much. It's important to remember when dealing with any of bit clear, bit set, bit and etc. routines. Yeah. All right. Where was I? Highlight mode. Clear the highlight bit. Yeah. Okay. So this should be correct. And now let's build our app. Okay. And it highlights as I expected. Okay. It's weird though. I remember using the highlight mode. I think there was a certain logic for this because when manipulating pixels on screen, it would make sense that pixels advance as bit indices advance. So bit 1 would be on right side of bit 0, even though in memory they're in opposite order. So that's why Apple numbered it that way. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Especially since, you know, the original Mac was bitmapped graphics. Yeah. Okay, anyway, this looks almost the same as before. But, you know, now we have our custom list definition function. Still a bit confused why I can't click the menu bar, though. Oh, maybe... I'll have to investigate that. Like, I can use the shortcuts. It might be because we don't have a terminal window. So... maybe Sue handle one event. 8 the event? I don't know. Oh, no, I know. If clicked window not null and because if we have no Sue window, then this is probably null.
Uh-oh.
And all the others can't be null. But of course, if I click in the menu bar, then I don't get a window. Ah. Ain't it grand? Alright. Really cool that even highlight mode works. Lots of good progress. Yeah. So the one thing I want to do before I really call it a day, because it's almost 2 a.m., or it will be by the time I'm done with this. Although, you know what? Let's be paranoid. Okay, it has the file LDEF. Let's make another commit. All right. And now, we want to get the correct FS spec for a volume. So, because right now we only copy the name. And I think, where do we have files? Let's see what the documentation. We can find anything. Under info. More than 1,000 matches. Great. Let's make FS spec. That sounds like a good place to be. Let's make this smaller again. A volume specification. This parameter can contain a volume reference number, a working directory reference number, a drive number, or 0 to specify the default number. Dir ID, a directory specification. This parameter usually specifies the parent directory ID of the target object. If the directory is sufficiently specified by either the vrefnum or filename parameter, dir ID can be set to 0. You explicitly specify dir ID, that is, if it has any value other than 0, and vrefnum specifies a working directory reference number. Dir ID overrides the directory ID included in vrefnum. If the filename parameter contains an empty string, creates an FS spec for the directory. Well, fs make fs spec. I think we have it down there already, right? Let's copy you over. Full name. I guess we could set dir info to that, and that to fs root par ID, maybe. So yeah, full or partial path name. If file name specifies a full path name, fsmake fsspec ignores both the vrefnum and dir ID parameters. A partial path name might identify only the final target, or it might include one or more parent directory names. If file name specifies a partial path name, then vrefnum, dirit, or both must be valid. .228 table 210 on 235 for information on how it interprets an output. If the specified volume is mounted and the specified parent directory exists, but the target file or directory doesn't exist in that location, fsmake fsspec fills in the record, then returns fnf error instead of no error. The record is valid, but it describes a target that doesn't exist. You can use the record for other operations, such as creating a file. In addition to the result codes that follow, fsmake fsspec can return a number of other file manager error codes. All right. I wonder what the get vol info hparam block. hparam block. Name and IOVRefnum. IOParam. What? Volume param. Ah. All index, creation date. Driver reference number or drive number. Write count. My problem here is, I think to correctly specify this volume, I would have to leave away the name. But of course I want to display the name. So, either I need to actually create a data structure. Oh, right. Is it called fsroot dir ID? Maybe I just named it wrong. Ah, there's both root par it and root dir it. So but I mean, you know, strictly spoken, I have the pbh get v info. So I can probably get more than the volume name. Parent of root. Yeah, but wait, root dir it? No, root dir it. That even makes sense? No, it says here anything else than 0. I mean, it makes sense. You have multiple roots. Every disk is a root. Because root folder needs to have a valid key in B tree. Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense here in the list as well. You want to be able to tell apart the different disks. Well, let's see what we've built here, I guess, according to the documentation. And do one more thing, and that's here in the list manager where we currently only log we add a command. So window handle command 0. All right, and now wait. The attachment, a command handler? Yeah. Then I can actually do just handle command. But of course now we need to give it a command as well. Void set command. Command equals command. And this is the double click message. I should probably give it a better name. Well, doesn't really matter. Okay, and we need a call to get the selected row. So the key for the root folder is pair of fs root par id and empty. Strictly mectech. Okay. So now how do we get list item data out again? Format toolbox. Creating a list. Adding rows and columns. Working with list selections. I'll get select. Oh, that's the return value. This syntax still trips me occasionally, that they don't have a return command, but rather just assign that to the current function. That seems so weird. Okay, void get row.
Uh-oh.
Whoops. Row or get selected row. Let's go with that. Void pointer out data. Short out length. No. IO length. Void see list manager window attachment. As code and error fsmake fsspec vol pb io vrefnum root dir it vol name and a snippet that else should give root folder fsspec. Vol name came from pbh get v info call. Should work. Looks kind of the same. Well, but I'm not quite. So thanks. It's as long as I can have the name in there. The problem I have with you know, you can have several floppy disks with the same name. And if you have several floppy drives, you can have them inserted at the same time. So a drive name is not unique on a Mac. at least in classic macOS. I think in I think on macOS 10 you actually get like a -1 or something at the end if you have the same name. I think the vrefnum is deciding factor in that, yeah. I'm just worried that if I specify the vrefnum and the hard disk name, that then if there is a file named Macintosh HD inside my Macintosh HD, it will refer to that. You know, that kind of makes me wonder if that's the right thing. But I think with the fs root dir, that's probably the trick that prevents that. Then it's not the file. Wait, we've already done this. Okay. Cell clicked cell or cell L get select true cell list. Now how do I get the data? Multiple selection will handle another time. Selecting a cell, scrolling a cell into view. Where are we? Manipulating list cells. Clear cell. Get cell. Data pointer length. Oh, that just... no. Data len. It returns in that parameter the number of bytes actually copied. Yes! I did the exact right syntax for my call as the actual one was L get cell out data length cell list. Okay. I'm really not I haven't at all started here to actually write any error handling, but at least I want to log so I see when something goes wrong. I mean, this is C++, so error handling would actually be kind of easy in some spots, because I could just use exceptions. Let's just return here, so if I ever add another line, it won't continue walking into the weeds. Okay. So now this sends a command. So set command ldbl for list double click. Okay, and now does this one, we don't have an handle command yet. I guess See, window has an handle command. Alright, finally window. LDBL, then list get selected cell. Did we call it selected cell or selected cell data? Get selected row is just what we called it. fspec spec selected row spec short len equals size of spec len. Okay, and now get selected row. Right, we want to open it. So C application. Do I have that included? Probably not. And now I have to remember what I called the method. Singleton, yeah. Get delegate. Open document. Spec. Okay, let's see if we have the get delegate. Yes, we do. Okay. And now, what was it Tony so graciously offered? So, param block dot IOV-ref-num fs id volume name. Okay, let's see if that works or if we have. Yeah, I think we need volume param in there. Okay, we need to declare the handle command. What was this? See filing window H. Virtual void. IO length is what I called it here. Oh, lget cell doesn't actually return an error. Okay, but well, just leave it like that then. I tried to look at my notes on fsmake fspec behavior and found them really lacking. All this file manager stuff is something I really need to work on adding more test cases for, because right now it's a bit of a mess on the emulator. Well, I think you saw there was like an entry of like a table of what fsmake fspec does for each input. So if that actually corresponds with what the computer actually does, then and isn't just how they planned it to work, then that might be a good start. Okay, now it gets. Wait. Yeah, I guess we'll just try it and hope. Um, that's just the surface of it. There's so much hidden behavior. Yeah, it's like someone types something wrong, and somehow it falls through fsmake fspec and seems to work. And then of course everyone expects that that actually works. Okay, so let's double click this, and that should open a new window. Okay. I think the problem here is we didn't get a window title. So my guess is fsmake fspec actually removed the title, the name of the volume again. But otherwise, let's see. App framework. That's the Filey folder. No, that's completely wrong. I think it's used the current directory or something. That's the folder the app is in, not the drive I clicked. Oh well. Let's see. Window attachment. Right, let's go in here. Oh wait, we can't do that here. Project, enable debugger, debug. And now attachment. So the list manager, get selected row. Let's go in here. And what else do we want to do? We may want to look at how we generate the fspec. That's the Filey window. Here. Okay. I started, for example, to think about that fsroot parent id versus fsroot dir id, and realized that technically root par id should be valid for root's parent id in fspec. As make fspec uses parent id, that makes sense. Okay, so here, what is spec looking like? That's a garbage one. I shouldn't name variables the same. -1, 2, Macintosh HD. I mean, looks okay. I guess let's let those run. Now double click. It didn't stop. Okay, let's go. Wait, no. Here. Scroll wheel works half the time, but not the other. Okay. Let's go there. Okay, and now see what the spec looks like. 0, 0, and an empty string. Okay, that didn't go well. That looks like an uninitialized array, actually. Step into. Get select cell 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that makes sense. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Error 1? Did I misread what lgetSelect returns? Lists.h. Oh, it gives a boolean. Yeah. Okay. Where is here? I'll get select. If I'll get select. Then I'll get cell else IO length equals 0. Not quite there yet. Okay. Just wondering what happens if one would use make fspec with just vrefnum and dir id without the volume name at all. Question, I guess. I mean, for one thing, I wouldn't get a window title. But I mean, we can try this out. Wait, that's the wrong one. Up there. You're right. So it really did try to list a folder named like my hard disk. So the question is, can I get... Yeah, I guess I can't. I guess I have to... I have to make some call on get... I guess I have to get catalog info. Wait. It had a window title, didn't it? It filled it out correctly. Ha! I didn't even realize that it had a window title. And I think the files match. Yeah, clock gear. Yeah, it's all here. Cool. So basically, this is bad news for everyone who wanted more stream, because this means we have something that lets you browse your file hierarchy. Well, mostly. Interesting. So the folder didn't work. Yeah. So volumes to list folders work, but clicking folders to list other folders, there's something still broken there. According to docs, it's even able to support partial full path names. Yeah, you can use relatives paths, which are interesting because on Mac OS, whoops, so this works, but the folder, as soon as I click a folder, it is empty. So there's something about the FS specs generated for folders still. So let's put a quick comment there. Maybe it's the same issue. Let's just try this for a second. Because maybe this is the directory ID of the folder itself. Okay. Ha! Fixed it. Okay, now we only have to implement proper staggering of windows. Alright, this is a good point to call it a day, though. We have a nice little application that lists files on your directory and lets you browse them. Next step, double-clicking file to launch it. Yeah, I guess that would be a good next step. And also making sure you only open one window for each folder. So if we already have one, bring that to front instead. Things like that. Last step for tonight, though, is make another backup. All right. And now that that's all out of the emulator, it's a lot of files. Well, I mean, I've had projects with lots more, but I mean, like, it's almost 2 screens now. Anyway, that was a lovely evening / night. And I don't know, maybe if I feel like it, I might stream some more tomorrow, somewhere afternoonish probably. Hopefully see you folks then. This was fun in a very useless and kind of nostalgic way, which, you know, it's relaxing. So everyone have a good night, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is for you. and hopefully see you sometime. At the latest, we'll be back on Sunday for another gaming stream. Bye bye.